Welcome into the opening line report. We got Teddy covers. I am Drew Martin. Guys, we're hitting on NFL draft. We got college football season win totals out at Caesars. We also got the stock market, little talk on the stock market, and questions as well. But without further ado, happy Monday morning to you, Teddy. How you feeling?
Well, we're okay, Drew. We're kind of, it's feeling more normal not to be crazy busy now, unfortunately, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but I'm feeling okay today. How about you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm trying to concentrate on the positives. There's definitely some negatives in the back of my mind, Teddy, but I'm trying to keep them there in the back of my mind. This is one of my favorite times of the week, talking with you on the Sports Memo podcast here each and every Monday going forward. But Teddy, don't want to keep the people waiting here. Getting into sports talk, we got the NFL draft. Like we talked about last week, it's a bettable thing that people are going to be able to get money down and get paid rather quickly, which, to talk about some things going on right now in terms of getting paid quickly, it's not really happening in our society, but the NFL draft might be. You sent over a link of the Will Hill NFL draft odds, man. There is a ton out there. I mean, I'm sure that you have things that you got your eye on in terms of looking to bet with an advantage. Is there anything just kind of off the top to throw out there to the viewers with the NFL draft odds?
Well, I really thought that we should kind of go through them a little bit in terms of rather than saying, all right, this is the one bet at the one book that you want to get involved with. So, let's bounce around some numbers. I mean, to me, that makes the most sense when it comes to how to look at the odds for the draft and the props. And again, we're talking William Hill number today, but the one thing that we do have with the NFL draft, there's a lot of books offering numbers. So there's line variance, there's the ability to get down, and there's the likelihood that these bets are going to get graded and you'll either have a win or a loss before this month is through. There aren't a lot of other bets like that right now. So, when you look at, guys in, draft positions, Tua over 3.5, under -140, or Okuda over 4.5. Any of this stuff. Becton, where's he going to go? 7.5. I can go on and on. There's dozens of these draft props. Which ones stand out to you as interesting ones to talk about? Because, there's so many, really. You can pick the first three players to be drafted. You can pick the first two players to be drafted. There's at some nice plus prices in theory, although to lay with Burrow and Chase Young as the top two, well, that's -450. And frankly, that might not be a bad bet.
Okay, so -450 might not be a bad bet. A couple of them that I was looking at, we got Tua to be drafted by the Miami Dolphins, -150. Right off the top of your head, does that intrigue you at all?
No.
Okay.
Again, when you start talking about this guy to this team and you're laying a price with it, I'm fine with that for the first pick. I'm fine with that maybe with the second pick. Once you start talking about, all right, well, now there's got to be a trade and there's got to be this and there's got to be that. And, if he gets traded, he doesn't go. There's a lot more nuance to that for me to lay a price with. It is a little bit much.
Okay, what about the top two picks here, like you talked about, Joe Burrow, Chase Young, -450. We got Chase Young to be drafted by the Redskins, -500. It's just kind of laying a lot of a price here, Teddy, which is one thing just by kind of looking at it from a glimpse view. I find myself looking to bet kind of -110, -120, plus, a price. I don't like betting, or I find it more difficult to be betting, the +500s, the -700s, that type of bet. So are you kind of in the same boat here, looking to kind of stay a little bit more an even price range, or do you think there is value stepping outside the box?
So conceptually, I totally get what you're saying. I agree with everything you're saying. When it comes to the nuances of just betting the NFL draft, and this is one of the reasons why year in, year out, I'm not loading up on the NFL draft the way we're paying attention to it this year. This is why. All right, the NFL draft at this stage, a couple weeks out, it's a lot of question marks, a lot of crapshoots. Not easy to lay the big prices. Once the markets start to figure out, well, this guy's going here, then this guy's going to go there, and this guy's going to slide there, all the minus 110s turn into minus 300s and minus 400s like that. So the markets move really quickly on these numbers once the info comes out. So in order to actually beat these, you got to be paying attention to these mock drafts. You got to be paying attention to GM quotes, and you got to be betting them at the moment you're convinced, hey, boom, CeeDee Lamb's going to get drafted before Jerry Jeudy. Bang, you make that bet right away. You don't dawdle on it, because if you dawdle, even for a couple hours sometimes, once the info comes, the minus 110s turn into minus 500s fast because they don't get two-way action.
And guys, we'll try to get a couple bets here we're looking at for the NFL draft, but I'm going to fire off a couple here at Teddy. Justin Herbert to be drafted in the top 10 picks, minus 300. Teddy, one thing I concentrate on is like quarterbacks in college going to the NFL. I've been, in my opinion, pretty good at kind of projecting who's going to be good, who's not. Justin Herbert, I have him checked as not performing well over his NFL career. I don't think he's going to have that good of an NFL career. Kind of thinking he's a little bit overrated. What do you think about a plus price on Justin Herbert not to be drafted in the top 10 picks?
So it looks like he's a good shot to be the third QB taken, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's where he's priced at.
Yeah, and they're saying obviously Burrow's going to go 1, and then Tua, and then with 3 teams in the top 6 in theory looking for quarterbacks, he would go 3rd. That's why this is. And look, of all the things that I'm looking to do with these draft bets, the thing I'm not looking to do is take flyers on these big plus prices. They're big plus prices for a reason. That's not one of the big plus prices I'd be looking at. Everyone, the sucker bet in the draft is bet a little to win a lot. The wise guy bet in the draft is you bet a lot to win a little, but you're betting winners. I'm not looking to take the big plus prices. I'm really not.
Okay.
Not without good reason. If I've got a good reason, I'm not a Herbert fan either, but he has the measurables. You understand? He has the NFL body. He has the NFL arm. He has the NFL arm strength. He has the measurable metrics that teams look at, which ensures he's not going to drop too far in this draft.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. It's a plus price for a reason. What about kind of first pick Joe Burrow, second pick Tua, plus 225. And the reason that's kind of intriguing to me is I just think Tua is going to have, at least for the couple years, if he can stay healthy, a great NFL career, Teddy. I know he played at Alabama, but you talk about athletic ability and passing talent all combined. I don't know if we've seen a talent like Tua in quite some time. I mean, he's leaving college football as the number 1 and number 2 passing efficiency leader. It's something pretty crazy that he's been able to do there in terms of being able to put the ball where he wants and being able to run the ball when he has to. I think that Tua has a shot to go number 2. Do you think that's worth a shot at plus 225 there?
No, I don't. And this is why. Okay. Mm-hmm. The Redskins have their quarterback in Haskins. The Redskins, I would be shocked to see the Redskins say, all right, well, we've given up on Haskins. Now we're going for Tua. Okay. So for Tua to get drafted second, Washington has to trade the pick. And they have to trade the pick. What's that?
Which is very possible.
They have to. It is possible. I wouldn't say. I don't know that it's very possible. They have to trade the pick and get an offer because they want Chase. From all indications, Chase Young is their guy. That's the one they want. That's the one they want to build their defense around, et cetera, et cetera. If Chase Young doesn't go 2 to Washington, he's likely to go 3. So the Redskins had to be willing to say, we're going to give up on the guy that we want in this draft to get assets for later on in the first round. I just don't see them doing that.
I get that.
Yeah, at the plus price, it's at a plus price for a reason. I don't see Tua going second. I really don't. I think Washington, again, reading the tea leaves a couple of weeks out, it doesn't look like the Redskins are likely to trade their draft pick. And if they don't trade, it's not going to be Tua. It's just that simple.
Teddy, one more question here. Will Hill, we're seeing some of these locked over 3 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. Like, it's not bettable right now. There's a bunch of them. Under 16 players from the SEC drafted in the first round. That's locked right now. Is there anything to these being locked and them not wanting to take action on it?
Yeah, there's stuff that got that either got posted and got steamed pretty hard, and they're like, we got to take this down, because the one thing the books don't want to do is get middled. You have over 15 players from the SEC draft in the first round, and then you get an under 16 players from the SEC draft in the first round, and then everyone bet the over 15 and the under 16 is going to land one of the two, and they're going to get sided. The books, they cannot put themselves at risk for getting middled in these. So when they get too much action, or they put up a bad early number or something like that, they'll just take it off the board.
Okay. Teddy, is there anything you wanted to throw out in terms of these NFL drafts that I haven't asked you? And also, do you have any kind of top bets you're looking to place here in the NFL draft?
No, so again, for me, this is not something that I do year in, year out. In terms of making a lot of bets on the NFL draft and focusing exclusively on it. We're doing it now because we have the time to do it now. We're living in a world where you better find something to do. The NFL draft is NFL draft and college football work is holding sway, but I'm not loading up on these yet. I figured I'd bring them up as a topic of discussion, not as a topic of, here's 18 bets that I made and you ought to be making these same bets. And remember, this is a small market. That's why I was saying, like, the minus 110s, all the good bets, they go from minus 110 to minus $3, in lickety split fashion. So be aware, once the info comes out, the markets will move very quickly. If you find something in your research, make your bet right then and there. Don't wait around on this stuff, because it won't last.
Teddy, good start here in the NFL draft. I'm with you, man. It's a tough thing to bet, but overall, I feel like I got to have a couple bets going down to make it fun. Also, it's been a while since we've been able to gamble a little bit. Are you hearing anything in terms of the NFL draft? It's for sure taking place. They're for sure going to do it from remote locations. Do you see any trouble with that happening? I mean, what if the internet goes out for one of these teams and, their pick is out or something crazy like that? Is anything going through your head in terms of what to look out for?
So that's an interesting question. I hadn't even thought about it. One would assume that in even in a COVID-19 2020, teams will be able to have someone who'll have a cell phone with some internet in the room. You know what I mean? I can't imagine that there would, it's possible. They're trying to do something they haven't done before in terms of the clock ticking down. I wouldn't be surprised if some team gets an extra 5 seconds or 10 seconds one time when they didn't deserve it or something like that. But I don't anticipate chaos. There might be a moment of weirdness, but I don't think that the draft itself is likely to be plagued with problems.
Okay, we got the chat box going, Teddy. This is the first live show for the opening line report, each and every Monday right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Also, wherever you're downloading your podcast, we'll post it as well. We got Scott Brown in the house, Chris Wager Talk, what's up, buddy? Johnny Detroit, Lawrence Presman. Thank you guys for all that you've done getting the show going. Victor Wilkes in the house. What's up, man? Scott Brown. Somebody is going to take Herbert earlier than they should. It's kind of like the same boat that me and you were talking, Teddy, in terms of it. It only takes one team. You got to also remember that.
Yeah, and again, Herbert, when you talk about the guys with the measurables, okay, the big hands, the big size, the big arm strength numbers, those guys get drafted. They get drafted higher than they should. It happens all the time, especially for quarterbacks. I'm with you on Herbert. I don't necessarily look at him as being the as a franchise QB at the NFL level. I didn't see that in college. Okay.
We got Maxwell Smart in the house. I won't read his first comment, but his second comment is, do I like maple syrup on your pancakes? Yeah, I do, actually. Maple syrup is good. We got Sean Bird in the house saying Jalen Hurts will be the biggest flyer this draft. Teddy, what do you think about Jalen Hurts? Obviously a lot of eyeballs on him. You think he'll have a successful NFL career?
Do I think Jalen Hurts is going to take his team and win a Super Bowl? No. Do I think Jalen Hurts is going to be in the NFL for a while? Yes.
Okay.
Does that answer the question? I think he'll be. I don't see him being out of the league and and getting cut after training camp. I think he'll be around for a while. But do I see him as the quarterback of a playoff team, a starting QB of a playoff team? No, not anytime soon.
Two questions. When do you think he gets drafted? And what position do you think he plays in the NFL?
I would assume he's going to play quarterback. Well, I mean, are you hearing elsewise? And it hurts. I mean, again, when it comes to the end of the first round, beginning of the second, a lot of times the teams will trade up and get him at the end of the first round because you can lock him in on the contract for an extra year when he's a first-round pick, and you can lock him in on the rookie deal. It makes a ton of sense to do that. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone moves him into the end of the first and picks him up. That wouldn't shock me.
We got Johnny asking, what about my Lions? What career are we going to ruin or stagnate, Teddy?
I'm pretty sure that Andre Ware's available. That's a joke Johnny would get, or any Lions fan would get. So the reports out of Detroit right now are cornerback. They're going to go for a cornerback. The kid out of Ohio State is the top choice. But that's again, right now we're still several weeks out, and we're not getting the buzz that we normally do. So maybe the info stays hidden better than it does. But the mock drafts have consistently have Detroit going defense in the first round, and I wouldn't argue with that assessment.
Okay, we got Scott Brown also saying athletic linemen always get pushed up the board. That seems to be something that's happened a lot. But Teddy, we got is there anything else you wanted to throw out there with the NFL draft before we move down the line of topics here?
Well, we do have a lot to talk about today, especially because we're talking about win totals in college football that just got posted this morning.
Yes.
So that's fun to talk about too, and of course we have a bunch of NFL stuff as well besides the draft. So no shortage, man. I don't want to over focus on the draft here. Although right now, when it comes to bettable options, the draft's the best one out there because you're going to win or lose this month, and well. So, have you done any of this, NBA 2K betting or any of the Madden betting or any of this stuff? Are you doing any of the Sims? Because I haven't really gotten into that at all.
Yeah, so, I'm 1-3 in the Madden Sims by Bleacher Report, and so I just kind of decided to kind of wrap it up and take my losses. And Ski Profit was the other guy on the side of the bet, so he's 3-1, doing well. And I've pretty much washed my hands of it. I can be enticed back into it if you really want, Teddy, but I'm not going out looking for bets. What about you?
No, I haven't done any of it yet. I bet the Florida Derby last Saturday, a week Saturday, just because I had a good tip and it won. I bet the favorite is going to win. Okay, but that's I think that's the only bet I've made in a while, and then obviously we'll do something with the draft, and these college football win totals we're going to do something with, and we should because there are numbers out there whether we have a season or not. It doesn't matter. The numbers are out. We got a handicap.
Well, Teddy, let's focus on that because college football season win totals coming out. I love it, man. That's one of my favorite bets to make. I think that you can get a real advantage if you're watching college football, spending your time, because they got to put out a lot of numbers. And one thing I want to tip my cap to Caesars. Johnny just sent us all the season win totals here. At Caesars, it's a -110 price model, and they put it out on the Sun Belt, Teddy, the Conference USA. Man, you can really go after some of these lines. So in terms of college football season win totals, I love betting them one, but Teddy, like you just talked about, is the season going to happen? One thing I've heard here is if college football doesn't play their season, the NCAA kind of has to cancel the rest of the sports for the year because it kind of pays for all the other sports. Do you think that this is something where college football could actually just be pushed back from the end of August, week 0, just keep pushing that back? And maybe we start off, at a later date, or you think they'll just cancel it at the end of August or September if it gets to that?
So you're absolutely right in terms of college football providing the revenue for all the other sports.
Mm-hmm.
So without college football, that's a big problem for any NCAA sport. So you can count on an effort to make sure that college football gets played this fall. Is that real? Right now, honestly, Drew, I mean, we're on every Monday and we're talking about, well, I'm betting the over on everything starting. I'm betting the over on everything starting. I'm betting the over on everything starting. When it comes to college football, this is really going to be you can't ask kids to risk their lives in theory to go out and play football to entertain us. You can't do it. Professionals, you can. Kids, you can't. They're not getting paid. There have been many influential voices in college football that says there's no way there's going to be a season this year. Not going to happen. That said, where we are now, I mean, we're literally where we are now here, what is it, second week of April, first week of April, whatever it is you want to call it, at the end of the first week of April. We're hoping that this next stretch is going to be the worst part. And by May 1st, we're going to be looking at the other side, that the curves are going to be flattened and that we're going to be looking in a very different direction at the future than we are right now. And if that happens, there is a chance these games get played. There is a chance we have a college football season. I mean, it's not unthinkable or unheard of. And as long as there are numbers, it's our job to handicap the numbers. And they're putting out fresh numbers. We got to handicap these fresh numbers. And it forces us to do our work now instead of sitting around feeling crappy about, the world's coming to an end, yada, yada. I mean, I spent days where I felt like terrible during this stretch. Much better when you have something to do. Much better when you have something productive to do. Whether it turns out to be something that ends up paying out dividends or not, can't tell you. But I'd rather have something to do in terms of handicapping college football and going through my off-season college football work than sitting around feeling miserable and going, the end is nigh and all of that kind of crap. So you do your college football work. That's what you do. I mean, you have a choice between saying, well, everything sucks and it's probably not going to happen anyway, or everything sucks and it's probably not going to happen anyway, but let's at least do something to get it done, to keep yourself busy. And if it does happen, you'll be ahead of the curve. So college football for me has been center stage over the course of the last week, and I expect it to be the same this week.
Yeah, absolutely, Teddy. And guys, we got the numbers out here on the college football season wins from Caesars. I'm sure I'll tweet it out personally at Drew Martin Bets. Also follow Teddy at Teddy_covers, at Wager Talk on Twitter. I know one of our good friends here, Teddy, Ralph Michaels, always big on tweeting this kind of stuff out. But the numbers are out. Also, guys, forgot about a promo here. Meet the Experts is on 3 p.m. Eastern today, and that is Ralph Michaels. So make sure to check that out right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. And I'm looking here, Teddy, kind of going off of what we were just talking about here. And sure enough, teams must play all 12 games for action. That's written every year. But games must go by March 1st, 21. That's 2021 for action odds as of right now. So the games must be played by March 1st of 2021. That's an interesting thing they put in there because they are allowing for it to be pushed back. And Teddy, one thing I wanted to bring up to you, they canceled March Madness in part, well, yes, because of coronavirus, but also because they didn't push it back because they brought up the fact all these venues are scheduled so much in advance and it would be very difficult. Keep in mind, the majority of college football teams play at their own stadium. Therefore, they're not going to have to worry about much scheduling differences if the whole college football just pushed it back 60 days. I feel that that would be okay. The season would still go on. So these bets would still last. Any thoughts on that? So
I think that is a realistic concern and a realistic prognosis about that concern. The fact that they have made an adjustment on the numbers saying, all right, here's your drop dead date, March 1st, 2021.
Right.
And that is something that I think it's beneficial for everyone. It's beneficial for Caesars, beneficial for bettors. It ensures that if the season doesn't go, people get their money back. Because that's something we talked about earlier. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about, hey, I'm not necessarily involved on the NFL season win openers because I'm not convinced there's going to be an NFL season, and I don't want to lock my money up with a book that may not give it back until next January. And I might need my, if you're sitting with a cash, whatever your cash flow is now, 6 months from now, it may look different. If there's no games going on 6 months from now, the fact that the books are still holding your money may be problematic. So when you're talking about, all right, I'm going to make these bets in college football now, that may not get graded until, or may not become a push even until next March. You better be damn sure that you're bankrolled, not for betting, for life between now and next March, regardless of circumstances. And I don't know that there are many people that are bankrolled like that, which again is bettors are going to bet. This is what we do. We're going to look through numbers. We're going to try to find weak numbers. We're going to try to find value throughout the course of looking at the board and the card, et cetera, et cetera. But this is one situation where even when you find value, you got to temper that with the concept of, is this money going to be more valuable to me if football doesn't start and all of a sudden it's next October and now I got to figure out how I'm going to pay bills. So you have to make that level of decision making with these wagers. You cannot be betting money that you're going to need in any way, shape, or form, that have any chance of needing in any way, shape, or form in the calendar year 2020.
Teddy, that's very well said. I mean, you got to really think about locking up your money for this long, not only because of betting bankroll, but, lifestyle bankroll. You got to be able to pay the bills. So I'm sure, Teddy, and one of the topics we wanted to talk about was the stock market. In you're kind of bringing that up. I'm sure that the handle for these college football season win total bets are going to be lower this year for obvious reasons. A lot of people out there, some major figures like Clay Travis, who I know talking about investing in Las Vegas Sands, on the way down here. Do you think those are good investments right now, or would you hold out?
I'm in no rush. So again, the market went up today, which, which despite the fact that we've had our worst period in terms of death and our worst period in terms of cases and all of that, the markets are saying today, at least, somewhere up there's light at the end of the tunnel. And as bettors and as people, we're thinking the same thing. Somewhere up there's light. We may not see it yet, but we maybe can start to smell it a little bit. How do you think? I mean, do you think there's light at the end of this tunnel, or is this just going to go on and on? I mean, because all this stuff is saying, there's a chance. And the other concept is people saying when things get back to normal. When sports starts up again, it's not going to be normal, okay? We're not going until there is a vaccine, which is sometime in 2021. Until people are actually vaccinated against COVID-19, we're not going to see crowds. It's not going to happen. Not going to see 70,000 people in an arena or 20,000 people at Madison Square Garden or whatever it is. So whatever kind of sports we're talking about sports in empty venues. Easier to cancel that way. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Teddy, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel in terms of COVID-19 being dissipated, but light at the end of the tunnel in terms of unraveling what we've done with the economy, I'm not so sure about that, man. I mean, there's wild times ahead. I think if anybody says, hey, this for sure is what's going to happen, I don't want to hear their opinion because I don't want it to cloud my judgment. I think they're kind of full of BS, if you know what I mean. And I'll tell you this. As long as our culture, and I'm not saying this is wrong, Teddy, I'm just saying as long as our culture is more, hey, don't go out, don't do that, and it's shaming that, which it is likely the right thing to do now, but as long as it stays like that in the future, watch out with any type of, sporting event of college football, the NFL, because that's a lot of people, that's 22 guys on a field with referees, everything else, 55 guys on a team. That's not going to happen as long as our culture is going in that direction, which, again, that might be the right thing to do. Now, talk about sports like UFC, where there's two athletes in a cage with a referee, or the PGA, where there's a guy and his caddy, and everybody's spread out with no fans. I'm not so sure why those sports aren't playing right now. I don't think there's any real reason to cancel those. They should be putting those on TV. We should be able to bet them, in my opinion, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly make a compelling argument, Drew, but make no mistake about it. At no point during this entire process has anyone been like, okay, let's rationally sit down and think about, do a a cost benefit analysis of what happens if we do these steps versus those steps or the other steps. That's not the way it works right now, and that's not the way it's going to work. So the theory is fine. The practice of it is what it is right now, and we will be dealing with the economic consequences of this. We will be dealing for many years to come, obviously. Because you can't spend money like we're spending right now without having, some reckoning on it somewhere down the line.
Exactly. That's a whole nother subject, and I think we're coming up time-wise on our goal here, so I have to leave that for next week. But guys, remember, Meet the Experts, 3 p.m. Eastern with Ralph Michaels and Lawrence Presman here on the YouTube channel for Wager Talk. We got questions coming in from Twitter. A couple questions here. We hit the NFL draft, stock market, college football. Did you want to throw out any college football season win totals here, Teddy, that kind of caught your eye?
Well, I mean, there were a ton to talk about.
Yeah.
So what caught my eye was here. Let's go. What caught my eye was how shitty the Pac-12 looks. Arizona lined at 4.5, Colorado lined at 3, and frankly, if I'm betting the Buffs, I'm betting them under 3. Oregon State at 5.5, Stanford at 5.5. UCLA at 5.5, Washington State at 6, expected to be way down in Pullman as well. So, I mean, the Pac-12 really stood out to me as a conference with a bunch of crappy, with a bunch of teams that are, again, supposed to be down. I've done a fair bit of work, MAC CUSA, and CUSA stood out to me a little bit. La Tech at 7.5, I thought was short. Marshall at 6, minus 130 was a little bit short. OD, again, another 3 that if I'm betting it, I'm betting the under. And UAB at 8, the under plus price. I thought that was a little bit high. This may be the year. There's finally some reckoning there. I can go on. Should I keep going here? And again, these are literally fresh numbers from this morning. I have not deep dived into any of them. But first, off the top, you better believe stuff. What's the got to be? Michigan's at 9. I don't know if Michigan gets to 10. I really don't. I thought that was a little bit high on the Wolverines in the Big 12. Look at Sparty, though, at 4.5. That, to me, looked a little bit low. Ohio State's, up at 11. In the Mountain West, UNLV at 3.5 with the over.
I like UNLV.
Plus 165 on the over. I know the Rebels are going to be that bad. Utah State expected to be way down. They're sitting at 5 this year. That was a number that disappointed me. I was hoping to get a good number to bet under Utah State. The 5 was, the market's already on this team. I'm not sold on the Aggies being any good at all in 2020. There's just a handful to start. But again, nothing that we can't talk about next week. Literally, I'd love to go through these one by one with you. That'd take a whole pod.
Yeah, for sure. And guys, that's something we're going to be breaking down here, really on the channel, but definitely on this podcast, opening line report each and every Monday. You can catch it right here on the YouTube channel. Also, wherever you're downloading your podcast. Teddy, got a question here from John Williams on Twitter. He came across this sports betting service in Vegas being run by Steve Stevens. Do you ever run across him out in Vegas? Do you know what the heck he's pretty much all about here? He was asking me. No, I've never seen him in Vegas. I don't know much about him other than the one show he was affiliated with. I believe it was on CNBC. But no, I have no idea if he's real, what the situation is. Do you know him at all, Teddy?
I have never met Steve Stevens. I am very familiar with Steve Stevens. Steve Stevens, who got the gig on MSNBC after being convicted and sentenced for senior fraud, telemarketing senior fraud, and spending years in prison for that. Dude goes on, the network decided he was worthy of a spotlight. How do I say this politely without getting sued? If Steve Stevens contacts you, run, don't walk in the other direction. All right. There are people who handicap. There are people who do this every day. And there are people that market and telemarket and sell. And, I got the big, it can't lose. You know, at Sports Memo at Wager Talk, we deal with there's not a person in this company that I wouldn't shake their hand. That I'm like, yeah, you're all right. Even if I don't like you, you're all right. You do things the right way. You're not trying to rip people off. Okay, you're not actively trying to rip people off. When you talk about the guys that work in boiler rooms, they're actively trying to rip people off. That's my 2 cents on Steve Stevens.
Okay. Teddy, I always remember from the old Sports Memo podcast days, no callbacks, no, XYZ.
Yeah. We don't call you. Okay. You want to call us? That's fine. Someone calls you for anything, for any reason, trying to sell you a play, you hang up the phone. That would be my 2 cents.
Okay. Good advice there, Teddy. Follow him on Twitter at Teddy_covers, myself on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Look out, guys, at Wager Talk on Twitter as well. We'll put out some of these college football season win totals. Teddy, man, we hit on a lot today. The over-under for the pod was, 36.5 minutes. Looks like the over is going to hit. We'll start to put out that over-under on future weeks since we got the live pod going. But, hey, appreciate everybody in the chat box. Scott K, Scott Brown, of course, Lawrence and Johnny. Big shout-out to you guys getting this show going live here on OBS. But, Teddy, is there anything else you wanted to throw out before we shut this down?
You know me. All I want to do is talk NFL win totals. We'll save that for now. So we do have updated NFL divisional or odds to make the playoffs now that the format is 14 teams make it instead of 12 teams make it. So we definitely have to touch on that next week because the odds to make the playoffs, those are real lines. And again, they're bettable lines right now. So that's one that stood out to me. But note, if you're making future bets that the NFL, they make the playoffs, et cetera, big difference between 7 teams make it and 6 teams make it in terms of the numbers.
I like it, Teddy. I mean, there's already a couple that caught my eye. I mean, the AFC East in general, I think, is a fascinating handicap. Do we have time to handicap it, or should we shut this down?
No, let's do an AFC East. Come on, people are dying for NFL. Nobody's got anything to do, dude. If you have something to do, feel free to turn off. Otherwise, we're fine. Let's talk AFC East for a minute. We got to talk some NFL. I feel we under NFL'd on this show, only with the draft.
Okay, right. We got AFC East, just a little appetizer here, and then we'll hit on the rest of it next week. Patriots, yes, -225. Bills, yes, -180. These are odds to make the playoffs. Jets, +450. Dolphins, +475 on the yes. I like the Dolphins, +475, Teddy. And really, I like the Patriots, no, +195, just because I think the whole AFC East is getting better. The Patriots going to be taking a step back. Jared Stidham as projected as the quarterback. I'm telling you, as an Auburn guy, he's not that good. I'm looking to fade the Patriots. I like pretty much everybody, Bills, Jets, Dolphins. Just deciding on which one to bet here in the AFC East. What are your thoughts?
I'm not going to sell the Patriots short, my friend.
Okay.
That's a lesson I've learned the hard way more than once. Belichick, Brady's in his 40s. Okay. Belichick isn't done. Brady's the one who's done. And that's why Brady's not there anymore.
I'll say this argument. I think college football is a coaching game. I think the NFL is a quarterback game, Teddy.
I don't disagree. I don't argue with that. But if I'm betting the Patriots, I'm betting on them to make the playoffs, not to not make the playoffs.
Okay. Good stuff, Teddy. All right. We are up against it, guys, time-wise, but we do appreciate you tuning in. Opening line report each and every Monday. Guys, quick reminder here, meet the experts, 3 p.m. Eastern. Come back and join us right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. We got Ralph Michaels as the expert handicapper. So, guys, best of luck with your bets. Any bets that you are placing, best of luck overall. Make sure to wash your hands. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you.